Hey, Closet Busters, come on and gather around. It's time once again to kick down those closet doors of life. We're here to escape our BS, explore our fears, and elevate our self-expression. I'm your host, Rick Clemens, bold move expert and coming out coach, and I'm going to take you to the party, the pulpit, the wake, and back to the party of living your life uncloseted. So come on, grab hold of yourself and get ready to step out, step up, and step into living your truth as we explore more stories, tips, and tricks for living your life uncloseted. Now let's get to the show. Hey, closet dwellers and bold move makers. It is time once again for Life Uncloseted. I'm your host, Rick Clemens, and I'm really excited because today is all about being seen, coming out and being seen as you, yourself, in the way that you should be. And I believe all of us want to be loved and seen, and we want to be connected. And when we don't feel that way, we forget to even see ourselves. If nobody else is connecting with us and seeing us, we forget to go, well, wait, let's look at ourselves. Let's see ourselves for who we really are. And sometimes we need those little reminders along the way to step into that space where we really see that we are really all just truly perfect, divine, and whole just the way we are. And I'm really excited because this whole show was inspired by a repeat offender to my podcast. He was on the show probably well over a couple of years ago. And he's a singer-songwriter. He's got a beautiful, beautiful new song out about, well, kind of the seeing you. And we'll let him talk about that. But Brandon Stansell is, I don't know, he's kind of one of those country music guys. He's got a little bit different sound. There's been some interesting things he's been doing lately. Rolling Stone talks about him being a new country artist that you need to know, and I kind of agree. And what I love about where he comes from is he comes from the heart of who he is, not only as a singer-songwriter, but as a human and as a gay man. And I'm so excited to have him back. Welcome back to the podcast, Brandon. I'm really happy that you're here with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I know, and it has been a while. You know, I didn't even bother to go look, but it was when it was the Coming Out Lounge, and I know it was at least a year, if not 2 years ago, that you were on. So there's a lot of catching up to do here in the next 30 minutes. So.
That's true. Yeah, it was a while ago, but I remember having a great time, and I'm happy to be back. So thanks for having me. Well,
and thanks for, and this all started, this all started because I sent an email out to all these people saying, hey, it's the 300 episode, here's what's going on, and then Brandon came back and said, here's some stuff, and then you even talked on that, and so that's how we said, hey, let's not just do just that, let's get you connected back up here and let's do a show together. So, and in the midst of all that, you talked about your new song and the new release and the new video. So before we get deep into like seeing ourselves, I think it'd be really cool for you to talk about why this new song, what it's all about, and why it's been so important to you to bring this one to life. So the show is yours now, man. There you go.
Yeah, well, so I just released this song. It's called For You. We released it late July, and then we put out a video with it as well. The song actually I co-wrote with a friend of mine, Mylan, who has co-written a bunch of my stuff with me. Just a really talented guy, and we both have these just wonderful partners. And we were kind of laughing and saying that we just felt like we were inspired to write something that was reflective of them, and we wanted to write something that just was kind of a nod to all the goodness they bring into our lives. So we wrote this just very like fun, upbeat bop, I guess you would call it.
Yep.
Yeah, right. But
it was very fun and upbeat. That's the thing. As soon as I listened to it the first time, many weeks ago, when you first sent it to me, I'm like, oh, this I love. I kind of was sitting there bopping in my chair, going, this is just fun. I wasn't looking at the video or anything. I was just like, okay, this has that kind of, you just feel good about it, and that's what I love about it. And then of course, it's for you. And then there were some lyrics in it that got me to thinking about seeing ourselves and all this sort of stuff. And folks, you just got to watch the video. Then you'll really get where we're coming from with this, because it really is about seeing in ourselves something we don't see in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, so my friend who directed the video and came up with the treatment for it, he's obviously very talented, and we kind of collectively had this idea to bring in Eureka O'Hara to be a part of the video, and thankfully she wanted to be a part of it, she made the whole thing really come to life. So,
and for those who don't know who she is, let's kind of explain who she is. So she was on season 10, right, of RuPaul's Drag Race?
Yeah, just
one of the finals.
Just this past season, yep. She was always my favorite. She's from Johnson City, Tennessee, which is like just a few hours away from where I grew up in Chattanooga. So I was kidding to say having her on set was just like being home, except that woman had more heels and hairspray than my mama ever did.
Oh, that's so funny.
It was a lot of fun, you know. And the video kind of quickly runs you through this storyline of these two kind of these two people that are maybe not in line with the cool people, and like the people that are more easily accepted and more easily loved.
Right.
And then you kind of see how that affects her, and what that does to her. And then there's this great this really fun moment in the video where I get to just kind of pull her these glasses off of her face, and we have one of those great she's all that moments. Right. Where she finally gets to see herself. She like transforms into this amazing drag queen. But she gets to see herself the way that I had always seen her, and that was beautiful and wonderful. So the video was just a lot of fun to make. We shot it in a day, and people really responded well to it. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
I swear to God, if you shot that in a day, you guys were working for sure. Because I'm looking at that video going, wow, there's a lot. Well, just her costume changes alone would be like a day's work in and of itself. So
we shot most of the thing in my apartment. So all of the singing things were all done in my apartment, which is crazy. And you can kind of see that at the very end when we pull back and you get to kind of see like a little behind the scenes piece, which I think is hilarious. Yep. Because it's basically scotch tape and glitter that whole production together. We finished filming, and then I literally walked right off the set and got on a red eye to Nashville because I was doing a couple shows down there at CMA Fest. So it's been a crazy couple months, but that's really awesome. Doing some stuff that proud of and proud to put out, and thankfully people are liking. So I have no complaints.
Well, the thing I liked about it is that moment. And again, folks, the video will be right on the show page here. So as soon as you get done listening to us, go watch the video. No, you cannot leave right now and do it. Okay, you could pause us and go watch it and then come back. Do what you want to do. But what I love about it is that moment with the glasses where I felt that whole, wow, this is kind of what we do when we come out of the closet. We finally see ourselves. We really see ourselves as a lot of people probably did, because I think for every one of us in our own coming out journeys, we always have some people go, yeah, we knew that already. We knew you were gay. And it's like, well, but why didn't I see this? Or why didn't I see it the way I wanted to see it? And I find it so fascinating when people do the work, and whether they're coming out about their sexuality or they're coming out to say, I'm leaving this sucky job or whatever, they start to see themselves. And it's such a beautiful transformation, because it's when we finally go, I get me. And I think that was truly part of the message I got from just watching the video, is she got herself. And she went off kind of on a little tangent of something, and she came back. But it's very interesting when we see ourselves. Don't you find that, Brandon?
I do, and I think that everyone comes to that moment in their own time. I think what's interesting, and I think that I think the work for people like me at this point in my life, where I came out a decade ago, and it took me kind of a long time to really figure out who I am and find that that's actually something great and something to be very proud of. But so now the work for me is trying to lay the groundwork for kind of this next generation of younger people, so that they can actually maybe have those revelations a little bit earlier on in life, which I think is important. As kids, I think for our, straight, counterparts, they get to see themselves, in a lot of in a variety of ways that are celebrated and that are, loved and that are, looked up to. And, when I was growing up, I just didn't get to see a lot of that in my community. And so it's where I, first started to feel those, feelings of shame. And I couldn't interact with anyone. I didn't know anyone, and I couldn't relate to anyone because I didn't see anyone who was a part of my world and a part of my community. So it's one of the my biggest career goals right now. I'm writing and singing country music. Being LGBTQ in the country space is a pretty there's few of us. I can't say we could all fit into a small boat.
Exactly.
But it's important to be there in that space. It's important, visibility is important, and it's important for me to kind of to stand up and make my music that I've always wanted to make, which is country, and share my story and do my thing. Because I think that not only am I doing that, but in the process, I'm getting to at least be in front of people to say this is a good thing. This is a good thing and a good space. And my hope is that, I guess, two things. One is to kind of, if there's someone going through the things that I went through, as being someone who loves country music, is to finally get to see their story played out in this genre that they've always loved. Yeah. So I think that's really important. And to know that if they are going through something that, that is similar to my experience, that on the flip side, you can, you might just come out to be a much better, stronger person for having to, go through the things that you're going through. But also just to, to be visible in that space for people, that have that gay brother, that sister, that son, that daughter, just to know that, we are a loving, good community, and there is no shame in having a family member be a part of that. So I think that's, again, only comes from being seen. There's a lot in there, but, it's this video for you is just one drop in the bucket of, a lot that, we're really trying to do.
And I think the thing that you just said that's important for people to really grasp hold of is one of the ways we're going to continue to heal. We haven't healed it, long ways from it, but to heal this just marginalization of the LGBTQ community and so many other communities, but because we're both part of it, we get to be the queens and say, this is all about us today. So listen to me. Is to continue to show people the normalization of, oh, here's Brandon, he's a country and western singer. Oh, here's Rick, he's a gay dad who has a podcast. Oh, here, it's these things that we all have these different places that we show up, and we just happen to be gay. Okay, yes, we happen to be fabulous too, but we happen to be gay, It's that crazy stuff where if we continue to hide and we don't show all the different normal pieces of who we are. In fact, I was just on Instagram before I came on here, and there's a guy, I can't remember, I want to say it's the Daddies or something like that. And no, not the Daddies hot. Okay, he's a hot daddy, but he's a daddy who's getting ready to he's I think he posted 21 weeks, his surrogate is 21 weeks pregnant with his twins. So he's just coming around the corner to being a parent. To me, there is a beautiful thing. A single gay man who has chosen to be a father. He knows he's having twins. This is normal life stuff happening here. Okay, yes, it's not normal in people's eyes that it's a single gay man having a kid, but get over it. I mean, he's not going to pop those out of his belly, for God's sake, but he's going to have children. And I think this is the thing that when we can start to wrap ourselves around some of this normalization, this is when the barriers get broke down. And this is when
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's, someone asked me recently, they were like, they asked me, how does it feel to be, in the country music scene and being openly gay? And I was like, well, I guess it feels a lot like being in the country music scene and being openly straight, except I date men. I just think that, I think that it's important. It's not only important for us to like be there and, be visible, to kind of further along this, this normalizing our community and with the rest of the world. But it's also, I think, important for us to be able to respond in ways that make it seem ridiculous,
right, Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because it is ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous. Crazy.
Yeah.
So,
see, if they would ask me that question, I would have said, I feel like a natural woman, dating man, singing country. How's that for you? It's like, hello.
Yeah. A lot of times, anytime someone writes about me or my music, it's always the gay country singer, which, and the only reason that it's written like that and that people talk about it like that is because it's the anomaly, right? It's not the norm.
Right.
And that's the whole point, is that it's, we shouldn't have to call out our sexualities in the headline of what, of the career path that we're choosing.
I still remember, because I'm older than you, much older than you. You could be my son. I could be bouncing you on my knee here right now. But I remember when having a black singer in the country music world was like, this is so unusual. What does it feel like to be the only black singer? And it's like, hello, I'm singing. I mean, we can sing circles around you people in church, so why couldn't we sing circles in the country music world, But it's these interesting little boxes we love to put each other in. And even as, in the past, few weeks or so, Miss Aretha passed, and I watched all the things come up, and it was like, wow, yes, she's a beautiful soul. She's one of my favorite singers, but there were so many that hung on certain boxes as they described her. And I thought, why can't we be just grateful that she had a contribution to music and that she was a soul sister? I get that, but I get the impact she had. But this is where I think we as society, it's like when we quit saying, oh, look, what an impact he's having as a gay country western singer or a black singer in this genre that you don't expect somebody to be in. That's when we've truly crossed the lines and we finally have come into full acceptance, no marginalization, and the world would be a completely different space.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we'll always have those. I think we're human, so I think that we'll always have a bit of that. But
yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's interesting, and I think the positive side of this whole thing is that, at least in my experience and my journey so far, that kind of stepping into a space where I think there's a notion that our community is not welcomed, and that those are probably thoughts that I think are probably justified in some respect. Mm-hmm. But from my experience, I really haven't received anything but just kind of open arms, and I've been really thankful for that. I had an interview when For You came out, down at CMT with Cody Allen, who does a show there, and Cody's an openly gay man. He came out a few years ago, and he was kind of saying the same thing, that from his bosses at CMT to his fellow artists to his fans, of which he has a lot,
right.
That everyone they were just so supportive and welcoming and loving, and I think about that a lot, and I think that I think that people are probably more open and accepting than we give them credit to be. So I'm stepping into this next chapter of my life optimistically, because I'm hoping for the best.
And when you give yourself that permission to hope for the best, what does that do for you? I mean, there's a lesson here. I love that you brought this up, because there's a lesson when we give ourselves permission to step into that power.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it comes from, a place where I guess after I came out, like I said, I kind of spent the better part of a decade trying to figure out who I am, and what that looks like. And on the flip side of that, I realized that I'm this person that I'm proud of, and I am basically made up, and I am this person because of all the things that I had to go through. So it makes me really thankful for those things.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like I had this I guess decision as an adult to, it was really just a crossroads of whether or not I was going to let all of these bad things that had happened to me defeat me and kill me, or if I was going to be better for them. And I tell people, so I decided to pull up my big girl panties and make the best of it. And that's kind of where I made a shift, and my life really started to change, because it was just recognizing something that maybe you didn't like and moving it to positive action. And I think that I've kind of done the same thing with people saying you're never going to be welcomed in that community. They don't like LGBT community. It's going to be a struggle the whole way. It's not going to work. And it just hasn't been that way. But
that's so much somebody else putting their stuff on you. That's what we do as humans. It's like, okay, bitch, you're doing this. And it's so interesting, because I just had this conversation a few moments ago with someone. When we project this stuff out, it feels so good, because it's like, okay, I'm pushing this onto someone else, and now I don't have to deal with my stuff. But that's exactly what it is they don't want to deal with their stuff. They see things. They see you going to try to be successful, and here you are, you're stepping into the country music scene, you're gay and all. And it isn't about any of that. Probably. It's about you're doing something that they see in themselves that they can't do. It has nothing to do with your singing ability. It has nothing to do with you breaking into the country music scene. It's about you stepping forward and saying, I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to go for my dream. It could actually be those two things, that they don't know how to be them, and they don't know how to go for their dream. They can't see themselves, which kind of ties back to this whole you see thing in your music. It's like, see yourself and believe in yourself. It's actually not that hard. It's actually rather easy. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do agree. Again, there are always like these moments, I think, that I feel like most people have when they have these, like life-changing times. Like when I decided that I wasn't going to let those like coming out experiences, I was going to, make those work for me, and be better for them. And kind of the same thing, with, pursuing any of our dreams and happiness in general. I guess when I first started, I had just so many people tell me no, whether it was like songwriting, or if it was, trying to find a producer, or just trying to get, some literally anything done that I wanted to get done with music. I just felt like I ran into so many, stumbling blocks, and I get people, because when I was, a little kid, I just thought that someone was going to hand me a recording contract and say, hey, go be a singer. You're awesome. And that just didn't happen.
But the thing is, Brandon, you chose to make the bold move of keeping going. That's the thing. You kept going.
Right.
Well, and I think stuff holds you back.
Yeah, I mean, I joke and say, if I had just waited for someone to open a door for me, I'd still be sitting behind a closed door.
Right.
Because I just, you have to, your dreams are big, and you have to go after them, but it requires a lot of work. And it has for me. The past 5 years have been a lot of work, which is why I feel like my face looks like a worn out leather boot. Yeah, I mean, if like I always tell people, it's kind of like my best parting piece of advice is, if you want opportunity, if you want those dreams that you've always had to come true, you got to work. Go
work it, girl. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, you gotta work.
There's only so many sugar daddies in the world, so there's not enough to go around. But something else you brought up that I feel like is important to put a little focus on. So how old were you when you came out? I'm just curious.
I was 22, so this was a decade ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want people to really grasp that piece, because some people are going to hear that and go, well, what's this bitch been doing for 10 years? It takes this long to figure this out. Yes, because I want you folks to kind of roll back and go, okay, 10 years. If we took away 10 years from the day that he came out, then he would have been 12. He didn't get to do this when most kids are figuring out who they really are. At 12 years old, we as gay and lesbian people and transgender people, even today, folks, we don't get to do this at those ages. It's more acceptable, but there's still lots and lots and lots of kids who don't get to do the journey through adolescence being who they are. So then you go, wow, it's taken him 10 years to find himself. Of course, because think about yourself at 10 or 11 years old. Did you really find yourself at 13? Probably not. Did you find it at 15? Probably not. You probably didn't even find it at 22. But you had those years because you were in a particular place where you could do that because you were heteronormative. And so everything around you was heteronormative focused. We who come out of the closet, I was 36, and it took me about 6 to 8 years beyond that to really begin to find myself. Because in that formative time of life, when most people get to do this, we didn't get to. And I felt that's a really important piece, because anybody who's listening, whether you're going to do this, again, I always use the same examples: sexuality, coming away from a job, leaving a relationship, losing weight. When you make the bold move to go be who you really are, there's going to be a time period where, as Brandon said, if you want the opportunity, you got to work for it. And that work for it could take a year, or it could take 10 years. It could even take 20 years. And I don't want to discourage anybody with that, but it's the reality of there's pieces of what we missed when we possibly could have done this. And so now we got to do it when we can do it, and we got to take the time to make it happen. And I hope that really makes sense to everybody who's listening, because somebody will hear it took you 10 years to start to really say, this is who I am, Brandon. But I bet you, I bet you anything, that 10 years of hard work and opportunity and pursuing the dream is probably something now that you can say, for the most part, you really know yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that, like, even, for me, by all accounts, for where I come from, I came out pretty early. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that what you're saying is absolutely right. And I think that it's one of the reasons why, I feel like I want to do what I want to do, because I want to reach that 12-year-old kid who, mm-hmm. loves country music and wants to see their story sung, mm-hmm. On the radio, so, and so that they can start seeing themselves earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. And I think that's what you're saying.
Yep.
But also, just kind of to leave it on a little bit more of a light note, you made this point that, like, even, heterosexual people, even though they're given all the freedoms in the world to explore who they are and who they want to be in a very open way, they aren't forced to do it. Mm-hmm. So I think that it becomes more of this privileged thing where they have all the time in the world, and they're wind up in their 40s and they still don't know who they are. And, it's the thing. Yep. And for me, like, when I talk about it, I say, I came out at 22 and I lost everything. I lost all my friends. I lost my family. I lost so many people that were my support system my entire life. And at a very, what I consider to be young age, I had to decide and define who I am and figure that out. And like I said, it took me a while, but I had to start that process in a very real way at a very young age. And I think that, now being 30, my 30s, I think that I'm just very thankful for that, because I'm done with that process. I know who I am, and now I get to enjoy it. And I'm really thankful for that.
I think this is one of those moments where when you hear somebody like you share that, what you just shared, Brandon, and somebody says, I know who I am, there's going to be a lot of people who listening are going to go, I wish I did. And when you referred to the 40-year-old heterosexual who still doesn't know who they are, it is interesting that you are given this hetero privilege, so to speak. Not that everything is around the whole heterosexual, homosexual thing, but it's amazing how many people at 35, 40, 42, 55. I mean, I have people I work with that are in their 50s that aren't gay or lesbian, that are like, yeah, I don't know who I am, and I really want to do this big thing in my life, but I don't even know what that really looks like, and I'm afraid to do it. And it's like, well, because you're not living life on your terms. And then when I say something like that to them, they're like, I never thought of it that way. I've been living on everybody else's terms. It doesn't mean like tell everybody, fuck you, I'm done. It's, okay, I get to choose how I want to live, and I'm choosing because this is who I am. And go ahead, man.
Well, I agree. And it's funny because I have this conversation with a lot of people that, because I adore my community. And I think that there's this wonderful thing about the LGBTQ community that we get to, because I think that most people, now I won't say that. I think that because when, after we come out, we really do have to kind of like start making these decisions and stuff. There's not a clear defined path for the kind of people we should be and how we should behave and what kind of lives we should live and what's normal and what's not and what's acceptable and what's not. And so when all of that is stripped, you really do get to this place where you get to say, I'm going to choose the things that are genuine to me, that make me happy, that fulfill me. And that's all that matters, and I think that that's a really unique, special thing about our community. And it comes from this, kind of dark place, and on the one hand where you're like, I wish we didn't have to go through that, and I wish the world was a better place, but there's a beautiful thing that comes out of that.
There is a really beautiful thing there.
Yeah, and when you get to start defining who you are, you really the world is wide open for you to make that decision for whatever you want. And I think that's a really great thing, because you don't have to adhere to anything, which is really an exciting thing.
Well, I often see our community as like the flag bearers to some of the best ways to grow in your own self, because we learn to deal with rejection. We battle for acceptance. In and out of our own community, we have to find who we are. And I know that people are going to say, well, that sounds just like anybody else. There's a different layer of shit we have to go through that finally gets us to what you said, the stripped down version of, okay, I'm basically naked now. So now what are the emperor's new clothes I'm going to put on? And what are those clothes going to be that make me happy, make me feel fulfilled, make me feel passionate, da-da-da-da-da. And it's also a double-edged sword, because, God, I love my community too, but sometimes because of the circumstances that somebody comes out, they can't begin to do that because they're still so harmed by what they've been through. The only thing they know to do is, somebody please tell me how I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And they turn to drugs, or they turn to alcohol, or they turn to sex, or they turn to, the isolation, all these different things. Again, those are very human things that happen. it just is compounded in the LGBTQ community because of societal views of who we are. And it's so refreshing to hear you say things like, I got to choose the things that made me happy and make me me. Because you did lose a lot. We all lose a lot. Even just today, I had a conversation with my mother that it's like, okay, I get it, but really, really. And it's to the point where I just take those conversations like, okay, it torques me for a moment. And then I'm like, whatever, you're in your 70s, just, you're going to be, this is who you're going to be. But, so as you are preparing for next things, what's the new inspiration? What's got you fired up for the next chapter?
Well, so, I mean, like I said, I think a lot of the conversation is kind of leading into my next project, which is a song we're releasing in the fall, actually re-releasing. It was on my record that my full-length record that I released in October. So we're re-releasing it with a commentary track that is my coming out story, and then we have shot a video for this that we're going to be pushing them all out on the same day. And it really is just my story, and I think that it's a powerful one in that I don't think that my coming out story is unique by any means, but I think that the flip side of it is this whole conversation that we've had, and that is, I made a decision in my life that I was going to be better for the bad things that happened to me, and it makes me thankful for those things because those things are what defined me. They made me who I am, and that's, I'm proud of who I am. So I think that it's a good thing for a lot of people, and I'm hoping that it'll reach the people that it's supposed to reach and help the people that it's supposed to help. We're going to be partnering with a nonprofit in Nashville called Launchpad, which services homeless youth in the area. And if you have, obviously, the LGBTQ community only makes up a small portion of the overall population of any city, but of the homeless kids that come to Launchpad, 44% of those kids identify as LGBTQ.
Yep.
So we're gonna be giving all the proceeds for the song and the video, and then we're gonna be doing a little benefit in Nashville around the release for them to try to raise money to keep their doors open a little while longer during the winters.
So this sounds like a really great benefit. And, I used to work for a organization that helped homeless kids as well, or kids at risk, and same numbers, 40 to 60% of the kids that came through those doorways were kids that were LGBTQ. So I love that part of what you're doing is going to benefit Launchpad. So when does that actually kick off? You said the fall, but when are we looking at, man? I'm really curious.
Yeah, so we're going to re-release the song and put out the video and start doing an actual push to raise money for them, probably early October. Okay. And that'll run for about 6 weeks. So we're still kind of working out the details, but our goal is to keep them open for more days during the winter. So they're only open for a few days out of the week and only a few months out of the year. So we're trying to just raise just some money for them just to keep their doors open a little while longer.
That's awesome, man, because this is actually happening right now as we speak then. So I'm so excited because we will have some links. We'll get some links put on the page to help support this. I would encourage everybody because, folks, listen to this. This is so true. Anytime you see some kid out on the street that you go, oh, wow, homeless kid, I'm going to tell you the honest to God statistics again. 40 to 60, sometimes even 70 to 80% of those kids on the street are LGBTQ kids who have been kicked out of their homes, told, if this is who you are, you can't be here. And I just wanted to just say I'm excited about this because this is close to my heart, number one, as an LGBTQ person myself. I feel blessed that didn't happen. It came close. But I love that you're doing this, Brandon. I think this is amazing, amazing stuff that you're bringing and supporting the youth. So we want to get right behind you on this. So I'm so glad this is happening right when this is going down for you, man. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And it is, I mean, it's obviously something close to my heart. And I think a lot of people in our communities, if you didn't experience it yourself, I think that you know someone that did. And it's just heartbreaking because it's one of those very odd, weird moments where the support system that these kids have known their whole lives, the people that they trusted and that they loved and they thought loved them, just up and disappear, and they find themselves unable to take care of themselves through no fault of their own. And I think that it's important for people in our community to, run up behind them and help them.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're trying to do.
That's great, man. Well, once again, this has been an amazing conversation. I love what you're doing. Keep wearing that flag. Keep standing on those stages. Keep infiltrating the CW scene and saying, bitches, we're here. We're not going away. But I'm so glad we had these opportunities to just continue to catch up with each other and to hear all the great stuff that you're doing, not only in the world of music, but in the world in general, man. So thanks for taking time to be with us here on the podcast today.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
All right, there you have it. Another episode of Life Uncloseted has come to an end, but that's okay. We're going to be back in just a couple of days sharing more stories, tips, tricks, and wisdom for helping you live your life uncloseted. And you know what? You can share too. Just take a few moments if you like and if you believe in this podcast and share it with someone you know today. Share it from your phone, go share it on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you are. Maybe even give us a rating and review because you know what? It's all about the planet living their life uncloseted. I'm Rick Clemens, host of the show and the guy who helps you make those big, bold moves. And I hope you never stop stepping out, stepping up, and stepping in to living your life uncloseted. Catch you real soon. Take care, everyone.